Hey guys, Saiyan here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and now thanks to the combined efforts of Minato and the person running the Dokkan wiki Twitter, we do have translations up for all 5 of the EZA'S that were announced this morning. One of the things I said to the chat, because we're still live on stream when recording this, we've been waiting for these translations to come out, is one of the things I'm really hoping is that when the games sync and everything is coming out at the same time, they just start getting the global Twitter to actually tweet the details for these units in English, because it's kind of crazy to think that this stuff got tweeted like an hour ago, and it's only now that we have the translations to know what the units are actually going to be doing with their EZA'S. It's kind of crazy that we have to wait so long to get this info, and that's not a criticism of Minato or anyone doing the translations, especially because, you know, when we get units like this where it's 5 units, but then, you know, transforming Gotenks is basically 3 units in and of himself, so there's a lot of work that goes into it. So shout out to everyone working hard behind the scenes to get these translations so we can actually get the info about what's going on. But yeah, we'll start off with the INT Toppo. This guy, of course, going to be the ideal partner for the Dokkan Fest Toppo. This is one of the EZA'S that we really wanted to see from this celebration, because it's always best when these EZA'S or Part 2 LRs actually do help out the new Dokkan Fest exclusive. So, INT Toppo, brackets Pride Troopers. So, of course, he can link with the physical Toppo. Leader skill's not really important. The super attack effect, raise attack and defense for 1 turn, does supreme damage and greatly lowers attack and defense. So in some of the occasions where you can still lower attack in some of the early stages of these events, greatly lowering is obviously very useful, and he is raising attack and defense on super, so that's good. Attack and defense 110%, then he gets 110% attack and defense, key 1 up to 3 when there are 3 or more Universe 11 category allies on the team. I did see him comment on this, because the wording of that is weird, because you have to have 3 or more allies, and then it's key 1 up to 3. I'm not sure whether that means if you have 3 allies you get 1, and then 4 allies you'll get 2, or if it just means 3 allies you get 3. Whereas if you only had 2, would you get 2 key but then you don't get the attack and defense 110%? I'm not really sure how that works, but 110% attack and defense and up to 3 key when there are 3 or more Universe 11 allies on the team. He guards all attacks and gets an additional 110% attack and defense when performing a super when there's another Universe 11 ally in the same turn. So even if you're not building the team with multiple Universe 11 allies, because let's face it, as the way it stands right now, there's not a lot of them that are very good, he's still getting an extra 110% and guard if you're running him with the Toppo. Then he gets a guaranteed crit if all allies in the same turn are Universe 11 or Special Pose. And then he gives Universe 11 or Special Pose 3 key, 50% attack and defense, and then a chance to crit 11%. So obviously this guy next to Toppo, Toppo's getting links, 50% support. Like, Toppo's going to get juiced up by this guy pretty spectacularly. And then now he supports Special Pose allies as well. So, of course, these Gotenkses and all these other characters that are EZAing that will fit on Toppo's team will actually be contributing towards his buffs as well. So that is certainly very interesting. So Pride Troopers, INT Toppo, seems very, very good for the Dokkan Fest Toppo team and a very good link partner for him. So that one's certainly looking quite good. Then we have the AGL Gotenks, the AOE Boy. So I was really interested to see whether this guy would be good. As I said in that previous video when the EZA'S got announced, it'd be interesting to see what they do to make him relevant for actual, like, long form content that isn't Super Battle Road. So he's greatly raising defense for 1 turn on super, does supreme damage to the enemy with a high chance to stun. I think the super attack effect is actually exactly the same. I know he raised defense before, I'm not sure if it was greatly raised. And then he gets attack and defense 150%. He gets additional attack and defense 150% and performs a crit when facing 1 enemy. Okay, so there's the buff they've given him for, like, single enemy content, right? Gets a bunch of extra attack and defense and guaranteed crit. Then he gets 150% defense and launches an additional super when facing 2 or more enemies. So for Super Battle Road or those kind of situations, you're still getting the defense. And whilst you're not necessarily doing the big chunk of extra damage, you are doing a guaranteed additional super. And in that kind of Super Battle Road setting, I guess the stun chance is almost as important as the damage. So getting a guaranteed additional, this guy's best build was always full additional anyway for those extra stun chances in Super Battle Road. So against multiple enemies now, he's potentially going to be doing 3 supers that are all greatly raising his defense and giving him the stun chance against all the enemies, so that's quite good. He is a time limit support, he always has been, but now he gives 3 key and 50% attack and defense, whereas it was 40% pre-EZA. So you think about some of these like crazy fusion characters, even ones that have EZAs upcoming, and then this guy on the team giving time limit 50% attack and defense. That is really, really good. Then we have attack and chance to dodge, plus 10% up to 50 with each attack performed. Oh, wow. Okay, so with, like, if you get that turn against the multiple enemies where he does 3 attacks, he then already has a 30% chance to dodge, as well as a little bit of extra attack. And then even in the single enemy events, right, if you're getting additionals early on, you can build up that dodge chance, and it does build up to 50%. So I would say that that is very solid. The early turns he could potentially get caught out, I suppose, against single enemies if you're not getting the hidden potential, and he's only doing the 1 super. But he is still greatly raising defense. I guess his role really is going to be a support unit more so than anything else for the single enemy content, but he certainly seems very, very good. Definitely could have been worse, right, for a sub-EZA. So we take those. Then we have the INT Gotenks. So this one is going to be quite long because this guy has 3 forms. But this guy, from what I've seen already, seems insanely good. So base Gotenks, he has both his leader skill. Well, he has special poses now 4 key and 170. And then youth is 3 key 170. He raises attack for 1 turn and greatly raises defense for 3 turns and does immense damage. So obviously this guy, he's only in the base Gotenks form for 1 turn. But then if you get this super where you're greatly raising defense, if you get an additional, you're not only getting that extra defense in that same turn. I don't know how that works in terms of it carrying over when he transforms. Although I think Tech Trunks and AGL Zamasu do the same thing. So it will carry over. And then drop off a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see. That means his first Super Saiyan turn, if he's actually getting additional supers in base, will look very, very good. And then of course he does immense damage. He gets 2 key, attack and defense 200%, additional attack 50% when performing a super, high chance to perform an additional super, high chance to dodge, then he gets an additional chance to dodge 10% with each attack evaded within the same turn. So he has 50% chance to dodge, and as soon as he dodges an attack, it goes up to 60, then 70, and then so on. But it resets. But still, that's very good. Additional defense 50% when performing a super for 1 turn from first appearance. I mean, he is only in his base for 1 turn. But that means, yeah, an extra 50% on super. That's pretty good. Transforms when conditions are met, which of course for him is just going into the next turn. So even in base, he seems very strong. He has a way to get an additional super. So with the hidden potential, you could get 3 supers in the first turn, each of which will be greatly raising defense. And then, yeah, he has 50% chance to dodge, which then builds up with each dodge that he does. So that seems really good. And then we go into the Super Saiyan form. So this guy was always super good for Super Battle Road, getting additional supers. He had the stun chance, raising defense on each super. So let's see. Raise attack for 1 turn, greatly raise defense for 4 turns. Causes immense damage with a high chance to stun. Key to attack and defense 250%. Additional attack 50%. High chance for an additional attack 50%. And a medium chance to crit when performing a super. That's pretty interesting. So he could get some very high attack stats and have medium chance to crit. Then he has a great chance to perform an additional super. High chance to dodge, additional chance to dodge 20% with each dodge, with each attack evaded. And then from the 4th turn onwards, high chance to recover 30% HP at the start of the turn. That's interesting. So yeah, he has a 70% chance to do an additional, which will greatly raise his defense again and raise attack for 1 turn, of course. So his attack stats will go up each time, as well as getting extra defense. Then he has the 50% chance to dodge, but each dodge gives him 20% extra within the same turn. So 50%, then he gets a dodge, it goes up to 70, then 90. Then obviously, depending how many times he's being attacked, if he dodges again, his dodge chance goes over 100%. So then he just has guaranteed dodge for the rest of that turn. And then, yeah, you have a chance to recover HP at the start of the turn, which is interesting. It's a nice little addition. It's not like make or break if you don't get this, but this could actually 100% could just save you runs if you get that heal. So that's really good. And then Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. This guy was always pretty crazy when it came to the damage output and everything. So let's see what we got here. Greatly raised attack and defense for 4 turns, does immense damage and a great chance to stun. 3 key attack and defense 300%. Then he gets an additional 100% attack and a high chance to crit when performing a super. He just gets a guaranteed additional super attack. Then he has a 70% chance to dodge, and each dodge gives him another 20%. So he starts on 70%. If he dodges one attack, it goes up to 90. And then if he dodges a second attack, it's then guaranteed dodge for the rest of the turn. And he gets a guaranteed crit on his first turn. So he has a high chance to crit on super anyway, but he gets a guaranteed crit on the first turn. And remember, he's getting a guaranteed additional super as well. So this guy, definitely full additional for his build. And then in this Super Saiyan 3 form, if he's doing 3 super attacks, especially on the first turn, he's greatly raising attack and defense, whilst already starting off with some pretty high stats. And then, yeah, 70% chance to dodge, which then becomes 90, then becomes 110. Those supers are all guaranteed crits on that first turn. Like, he seems actually crazy. Like, he is probably, I mean, the Super Saiyan 3, definitely. Like, he is KEFLA level, if not better. Attack and defense 300%. His start of turn defense should be pretty good. And then he has a 70% chance to dodge, and each super is raising his defense by 50%. Like, obviously we need to see his numbers in game, but he seems like he'll be absolutely insane. So yeah, he seems really good. Minato has actually posted the other ones now, so because I like his visual format better than the wiki ones, we'll just use these ones. So physical Super Saiyan 2 Great Saiyan Man, greatly raised defense for 1 turn, does supreme damage, raise attack for 3 turns. So he's greatly raising defense on super, that's good at least. Attack and defense 180. For each ally in the Defenders of Justice or Exploding Rage category other than this character, depending on which has more members, key 1 up to 3, attack and defense 60 up to 180. So if you have 3 allies from Defenders of Justice or Exploding Rage other than him, you can get an extra 3 key and 180 to stats. Performs a crit when there's a Majin Buu Saga enemy. Interesting. Additional attack 180%, damage reduction of 30%, and if HP is 30% or below, recovers 50% HP when there's an extreme class enemy. Oh, so that's good. So against extreme enemies, he just gets extra attack and 30% damage reduction. And then if your HP is 30% or below, he recovers 50% HP once only. That's pretty good. And then launches an additional attack that has a high chance to become a super. So he seems decent. Definitely not anything crazy. He's not a support unit. So I think the problem with these kind of characters is he'll be fighting for spots on teams on like main rotation with big ticket like Dokkan Fest units and Dokkan Fest LRs. And then as a floating third unit, he's not providing support, so he doesn't really fit that role. But yeah, I mean, he seems like he could be pretty good. With additional from the hidden potential, you could get a triple super, which would greatly raise his defense 3 times. And then he has 30% damage reduction. You do really, I guess, need the allies for him to get that extra 180% to stats to probably be really good for some of the harder content. But he doesn't have any sort of multiplicative boosts or anything like that. So he's probably not going to end up being too crazy, which is a bit of a shame. A good niche unit for like Defenders of Justice or Exploding Rage maybe. But he definitely doesn't seem bad, but he doesn't seem anything like crazy impressive or anything like that. So interesting one for this guy. We'll see how he looks in game. And then lastly, we have the physical Ribrienne with the giant form transformation. So she has a Peppy Gals lead or physical types. Her super attack does supreme damage to the enemy and raises attack and defense for 6 turns. Apparently it is a 50% raise, even though it's just raises attack and defense, which would normally be 30. So that's interesting if it is 50. For 6 turns, which means multiple supers will give her massive buffs, and then they carry on for the couple of turns as well. She gets attack and defense 80% when performing a super. Key +1 per key sphere obtained. Chance of random type of... changes a random type of key sphere, physical excluded to rainbow, when there's another 2 or more Peppy Gals allies on the team. Attack and defense 22% per key sphere obtained. Additional attack, defense, and chance to dodge 22% up to 88 per rainbow key sphere. Wow, so if you get 4 rainbow orbs of her, she has an 88% chance to dodge. That's interesting. Launches an additional super attack when collecting 3 or more rainbow key spheres, and then turns into giant form when conditions are met. We don't know the conditions because they're not listed on the original image, so of course there's nothing to translate. Now the interesting thing is she's got no start of turn stats. So she's a nuker, attack and defense 22% per key sphere obtained, but that's all the stats you're getting. So now she does change orbs if you have the 2 or more Peppy Gal's allies on the team. But if you get like a really bad RNG orb change and you get a turn where she's only picking up like 3 or 4 orbs, then she's going to look super, super unimpressive. Especially because if you're picking up 3 or 4 orbs, you're probably only getting 1 rainbow in there, which means she's only getting a 22% extra buff and 22% chance to dodge. So she is a nuking unit through and through, in the sense that the turns where you're not able to get a lot of orbs, she's really not going to look very good, which is unfortunate. But I mean, she's a very random unit anyway. They didn't tweet out any details about her giant form or anything, so I guess there's no real way to see like how good she could be with the giant form, or what the new condition is. But yeah, there you go. So she's certainly interesting, but doesn't seem that great. The Great Saiyan Man, again, is interesting, but doesn't seem too crazy. The Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks seems absolutely busted and easily like KEFLA level. The AGL Gotenks seems like an interesting one, and then this guy, very good for the Dokkan Fest Toppo. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. 5 EZA'S, 3 of them definitely seem very good. The other 2 are a bit hit or miss, but we'll see. Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments, and shout out to Minato once again for the translation. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.